Trailer. I'm Ezra Blackwood, a hydraulic engineer who returned to my family's Colorado land, only to watch HOA President Dexter Hawthorne blow up my great-grandfather's 1924 dam at dawn. What he didn't know is that pond has held back floodwaters for a century, and spring snowmelt is 6 weeks away. Corruption, forged documents, bogus safety reports, community sabotage, and one engineering legacy standing between a neighborhood and disaster. If you love wild HOA battles, like and subscribe for more. I just stopped for coffee when I saw smoke over our pond. By the time I screeched home, the hand-cut limestone dam Samuel Blackwood built in 1924 lay in rubble. Dexter Hawthorne stood in his driveway, dusting off his polo, snapping victory selfies. "Free demolition. Your swamp was killing property values," he crowed. He didn't realize he'd unleashed a flood time bomb. My great-grandfather's dam created a 3-acre pond that tamed spring runoff for Millbrook Estate. Since before my family joined the HOA, I'd moved back after a nasty divorce to start an organic trout farm and vegetable operation, using the pond's water to heal my life and to honor Grandpa's work. Instead, I got small-town corruption that made Chicago politics look quaint. Dexter Hawthorne, 52, real estate mogul, 8-year HOA president, dreamed of golf courses and spa resorts in our valley. My hillbilly fish pond, as he sneered, clashed with his vision of manicured lawns. His first strike came in a fat certified letter, $12,000 in back HOA water management fees I never owed, plus a demand to demolish my century-old dam or pay $500 a day in fines. I tried diplomacy. He laughed. "Pay up or tear it out." Gravel crunched under his Beamer as he drove off. This was about land, not fees. I hired a lawyer and discovered my great-grandfather had explicitly refused HOA membership in 1954. Boundary surveys conflicted. We had a case. Meanwhile, county inspectors, led by Dexter's golf buddy Rick Morrison, showed up unannounced, poking at stones with screwdrivers. The next day, Morrison's report declared catastrophic failure and ordered immediate demolition. I nearly spit coffee. Concrete erosion typical of the 1960s? My dam was hand-cut. Limestone from 1924. Morrison hadn't even measured it. I called in Matthews and Associates, the bridge certification experts. Their 6-hour assessment concluded my dam exceeded today's safety standards by 200% and would last another 500 years with normal upkeep. I filed complaints against Morrison with the State Engineering Board, county prosecutor, and local press. I demanded they pay for my independent report and face penalties for fabricating emergency orders. Undeterred, Dexter unleashed a media blitz. The Millbrook Herald ran "Dangerous Dam Threatens Homes" on its front page. He and volunteers scoured the neighborhood with scare flyers showing stock images of failed dams elsewhere. "Would you risk your family's safety?" he asked, clipboard in hand. 57 neighbors signed a petition demanding the dam's removal. I invited signers for a Saturday morning tour. 23 arrived. I walked them along the spillway, explained controlled overflow, showed them the century-old stonework still flawless. By noon, 18 had withdrawn their signatures. But Dexter responded by authorizing demolition crews at 6 a.m. Tuesday. Orange-vested workers trundled equipment into my driveway under Morrison's bogus order. I blocked them with my truck and called every lawyer, reporter, and county official I knew. The crew chief insisted he was protecting public safety. I insisted he was about to shred private property on fraudulent grounds. 20 minutes later, Dexter arrived with 2 deputies accusing me of obstructing emergency services. Within an hour, Channel 9 was live-streaming police at an HOA dispute. Politics meeting corruption in high def. Then, City Councilman Bradley Walsh, another of Dexter's golfing friends, introduced an emergency ordinance banning pre-1950 water structures. There was exactly one: my dam. At the public hearing, Walsh read sanitized talking points. When I asked if any other dams would be affected, the room fell silent for 30 seconds. I then revealed Walsh's own land holdings upstream under LLCs and preliminary plans for a $12 million resort that required scraping out my pond. His public safety pitch collapsed. The council tabled his ordinance. Next came a parade of hired experts, an ecologist claiming anoxic dead zones, a health inspector citing toxic algae. None had ever visited my property. I invited the state wildlife agency. Their biologists spent days documenting 24 fish species, thriving aquatic insects, nesting ducks, and beaver lodges. One of the healthiest freshwater ecosystems we've seen, her report read. Dexter's environmental smokescreen blew away. Then came anonymous EPA complaints accusing me of diverting a protected watershed. The EPA investigator actually read my grandfather's old permits, still valid and grandfathered. He confirmed anyone forcing dam removal without federal approval would violate the Clean Water Act, subject to $50,000 a day fines. Suddenly, the harassment campaign had federal teeth. Meanwhile, homeowners had grown tired of Dexter's secret expense accounts. At the next HOA meeting, Janet Morrison, no relation to Rick, demanded receipts for an $18,000 payment to Hawthorne Consulting, Dexter's LLC. She held a printed invoice. "That's your company," she said. 3 years of crooked landscaping contracts, Shell Corporation legal fees, and bogus emergency maintenance payments lay exposed. The board voted 150 sauro to remove Dexter and freeze HOA accounts. His scream, "Ungrateful idiots," echoed through the meeting hall. Rather than relent, Dexter filed forged eminent domain papers over the Independence Day weekend, claiming the HOA had superior water management authority. He backdated environmental assessments and slapped on county seals. I countered with forensic accounting. $180,000 funneled from HOA dues into his bank accounts. I delivered evidence to every homeowner and city clerk before their emergency council vote. The council voted 7-0 to oppose his petition pending criminal investigations, but Dexter doubled down. Crews returned to demolish my dam, waiving Rick Morrison's fake order. I called my grandfather's old lawyer, Harold Brighton, who pulled a 1953 perpetual flood control contract from the archives. Samuel Blackwood had signed an agreement with the county, making the dam official public safety infrastructure. Removing it would breach a legally binding contract and invite federal penalties, and by forcing a breach, Dexter would be personally liable for any downstream damage. Harold telephoned a judge. We got a 48-hour injunction, but Dexter would simply return with new paperwork. I needed to prepare for the inevitable flood and document everything. I called Dr. Sarah Martinez at Colorado State to run computer simulations of the dam's destruction 6 weeks before a record snowmelt. Graduate students built models showing Millbrook Estates underwater for 3 weeks, with 47 homes submerged under up to 6 feet. I planted IoT flood sensors and motion-triggered cameras in basements and yards, proof of impending damage. I then organized the Millbrook Safety Coalition with Janet Morrison and 2 ex-board members. We held door-to-door briefings, handing out address-specific flood maps. Nothing grabs attention like your own street underwater. Fire Chief Rodriguez asked for early warning sensors. I wired up a text alert network for every downstream household. Environmental lawyer Rebecca Torres drafted criminal referrals, forged documents, illegal eminent domain claims, and Clean Water Act violations. She estimated Dexter's liability in the tens of millions. Despite injunctions, demolition crews returned with stabilization orders. They brought shaped explosives, enough to demolish a city block, to prevent catastrophic failure. I handed them the court order. They skedaddled before they triggered a federal crime. In the following days, my driveway looked like a law enforcement convention. EPA, state engineers, county health, FBI, all investigating Dexter's fraudulent complaints and sabotage reports. Each agency cleared my dam and logged new inquiries into his corruption. Colorado's snowpack reached 160% of normal. Meteorologists warned of an early melt. I convened an emergency community meeting. Dexter will destroy my dam, but we'll protect ourselves. I distributed evacuation routes, housing plans, and insurance checklists. Janet stood and asked why I helped neighbors who'd tormented me. Because that's what engineers do, I said. We solve problems, even for those who underestimate us. Late Sunday, motion sensors near the dam alerted me to midnight trespassers. Trail cam footage showed Dexter's brother-in-law and two accomplices swinging sledgehammers at the foundation. I called 911. Deputies arrested the trio for vandalism. Their alibi of checking for damage rang hollow. Yet they'd cracked stones enough to truly destabilize the dam. At Monday's hearing, the judge ruled the dam genuinely unsafe, thanks to criminal sabotage, and authorized federal supervised demolition. At dawn Tuesday, Army Corps engineers set controlled charges under a federal watch. At 2:00 p.m., the first wave of snowmelt arrived 6 hours early. My pond drained in minutes as 99 years of floodwater remembered gravity. The creek surged through Millbrook Estates, hitting basements, streets, and lawns. My text alerts blinked. Flooding at 47 Maples, water rising at 23 Oak, evacuate Pine Avenue. By 5 p.m., rescue boats patrolled the streets. That evening, 300 washed-out residents packed the community center. I stood before them while sheriff's deputies read arrest warrants. "Dexter Hawthorne," they announced, "you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, environmental crimes, and criminal negligence." He tried to slip out the back, but 300 furious homeowners blocked him. Live TV captured every moment. Federal prosecutor Janet Walsh laid out charges: embezzlement, bribery, Clean Water Act violations, and destruction of public safety infrastructure. State AG Rebecca Martinez followed with civil suits demanding $8.2 million restitution. Rick Morrison was handcuffed next, booked for falsifying safety reports. Dr. Martinez unveiled Army Corps plans to rebuild the dam with a $2.4 million federal grant, funded by Dexter's assets and disaster relief. The new structure would protect this valley for centuries. 6 months later, Millbrook Estates looks reborn. Flood-resilient homes stand where McMansions once blocked creeks. The rebuilt Samuel Blackwood Dam, a historic landmark, channels spring melt safely downstream. My aquaculture business thrives. Trout veterans pay to fish our pond, and restaurants buy our organic greens. The HOA, led by Janet Morrison, now publishes quarterly financials and funds the Blackwood Flood Safety Scholarship for engineering students. The annual Millbrook Watershed Festival draws 3,000 visitors celebrating conservation and damn good choices at local breweries. I co-author Watershed Management, projects across Colorado, protecting communities from officials who treat engineering like a nuisance. Every morning I sit on my porch, listening to water flow over ancient limestone, remembering Grandpa's note: "Build for floods you haven't seen yet. Water answers only to gravity." If you'd like more HOA's Gone Wild tales and lessons in standing up to corruption, please like and subscribe. Drop your own HOA horror story in the comments. I read everyone.